Hello, everyone, and welcome to LaKesha and Friends. And I am so happy to have a new friend on with us today. Yeah, Lamont Carey. We actually met, I think, over the weekend. It seems like it was like a year ago, but we were both on a Zoom and it was a voter registration rally. And Lamont just had an amazing story about why voting is impactful. And I was like, you have to come on and share your story with us. So, welcome to the show, Lamont. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Lamont Carey. I am the director of the mayor's office on Returning Citizens Affairs in Washington, D.C. So basically what we do is help people who are reentering the community from incarceration to get connected to services, to meet their needs and wants so they can move forward to upward mobility to the middle class. That
That's
is what
awesome.
I do. Yep.
So, how did you get connected with this position?
Uh, I had a conversation with some of the executive office of the mayor, and next thing I know, I was in the position.
That
So
is
it's awesome to be able to serve my community in a way where I can have a broader impact than I could have.
let's see. Okay, there you go.
There I go. And I
Yeah.
have the support system of an amazing administration that champions that everybody deserves a fair shot, nobody left behind. So I've been charged with making sure that the community are aware on the services that are offered in the community, whether through a nonprofit or government agencies. So that's
That
my
is
job.
that is like so cool. So when you talk about voting, like how do you make the connection? Because that's how we connected. Because you were sharing like how voting is impacted, well, how the work that you're doing is impacted by voting. Because a lot of people don't necessarily connect voting with helping people who are re-entering society.
So so let me say how it impacts, at least with my position. So I'm a returning citizen.
Okay.
For those who don't know, the term is somebody that was formerly incarcerated, and more than half of my staff are returning citizens, and
Um,
the rest of my staff who aren't returning citizens have a loved one or a friend that's incarcerated or have been incarcerated. So we are directly impacted individuals, and for this position, for this office to even have been created, it took voting, people voting for a politician that saw, was looking forward to the future and saw that their loved ones are going to need opportunities and that we are a specialized group that have specific needs that are usually shut out. And so they invested by using their ballot to vote in representatives who created the office. And so
right.
not only did they create the office through voting, but part of the demand was that the office be led by somebody with those lived experiences. And so I have been very fortunate to have a community that has been championed for me as a returning citizen, not me as a director, but me as a returning citizen, because in the district alone, there is believed that there is like 70,000 plus. So that is how voting has impacted me personally, but also in staying with returning citizens. We just passed an emergency bill where DC prisoners that are now serving sentences, whether 1 year in a day or life sentences, can vote in this election.
Wow.
Voting,
Wow.
voting on the local level, because a lot of people focus on the presidential level, but not taking into account the legislative body, right? And that includes the ANC, the council, the mayors. Those are the ones that make laws that directly impact your audience, you and me. And I mean, everything is impacted by vote. From what's the pollution that can go into the air, that can create things like asthma or cause it harder for us to breathe, right?
Mhm.
Or the food, or people waste doing me dumping trash in areas that seep into the ground, that it comes up into our water, or like Flint, Michigan, right?
Right.
We about the lead in the water through the old pipes. So that's how voting is critical for the individuals that are tuned in now, because it impacts everything that you do, everything that you want to do. So if you want to start a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the laws in place? What's going to be the barriers that's going to prevent you from starting that business, right? And having a politician or somebody in office or running for office that want to remove those barriers for you. So voting for me is about planning for your future. And so your child, redlining districts, right? You want your child to go to this school, but it's not in that district. Voting, right?
Right.
That impacts the red line and remove the red line, right? So voting for me is about how you create the future that you want for yourself and for the young people. You got friends in your neighborhood, right? Or you come outside and there's nowhere to go. So you just
Mm-hmm.
hang around on the front porch. Rec centers, right? Your representatives say you want later hours of the rec center to being open so that you can have access to it, so you won't be hanging out in the street, right? All of those things are impacted by who you select to represent you in the office, and who you select should be a reflection of what you want your future to be. So
That
that's how I
is
see
so
voting.
awesome. So I do have a question, because when you're talking about, people who are serving sentences and even people who are re-entering, what are some barriers to getting them to actually vote, even if they have the right to vote now?
So DC is unique, and for some reason it just doesn't come to mind how many states that allow individuals to vote. But so let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you how unique DC is, and how. So I got to big up, like, my mayor, who's my definitely my boss, but I'm not bigging her up because she's my boss, but I'm bigging her up because she's actually doing the work that is needed to be done by putting people in place like me, in our council, who has been strong in support of reentry stuff. So, uh, because I'm a be broad, so run the question and make it specific so I can give you exactly what I want, because I'm so excited about people voting that I'm gonna run the gamut. But so you said about formerly people incarcerated having the right to vote, right?
Then how you get them to actually vote, like to see that it's important. Because a lot of times they're just like, the system doesn't work for me. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, what conversations do you have to help them see how important it is?
So one of the conversations, or parts of the conversation that we have for them, when individuals are transferring from prison to society,
Mm-hmm.
they have nothing,
Right.
and they're dependent on family members and friends who may not be there. So what we have in the district is that they have access to social services, right?
Mm-hmm.
My office helped them with ID, learners, driver's license, tickets, uh, birth certificates,
Wow.
right? And so all of this has been created because of somebody voted for an official to represent them. And so one of the ways that we break down that uh, barrier that has been implanted throughout generations, right? And now when we thinking we got a felony conviction, there's nothing for us. So we
Right.
don't want to vote. Our vote isn't going to count. The fact that they need those services and that they can access those services is reason enough for them to vote. But an additional reason for them to vote. One, we had this where at job applications, have you ever been convicted of a felony?
Right.
So they couldn't even get into an interview. The employer would throw that stuff in the trash, right? In housing, have you ever been convicted of a crime? Don't even get access to really apply for housing. But in the district, our mayor has put in ban the box, right? So what ban the box is, it demands that employers remove that from an application,
Wow.
right? And so that gives the individual the opportunity to have an interview and sell the employer on their skill sets. But if the employer is going to offer them employment, they can do the background check. But the goal of ban the box is to give you the opportunity to sell yourself. So that's another reason why they should vote, right? And then the housing, because you only want to live with your family, but for so long. So we don't remove the barrier for you to get a job. Now you got a job, you making you some money. Now you tired of sleeping on the couch. You want your own place, right? At first that was a barrier. Now we don't remove that.
Wow.
So now you can apply for housing. That this doesn't mean that there aren't no barriers that still exist for returning citizens, but initially those social services, right? Because a lot of our people are going into homes that's underserved already. And so
Right.
adding another mouth to it thins the rations that's already available. So now you ain't got to go into that house with nothing in your hand because we're attaching you. Not only by you, why you should vote, and because the vote is going to help you get support from the government, right? To be able to buy food, right? It's not only going to give you support to buy food, but now you can go to the doctor.
Right.
You can go to the dentist. You can get them teeth fixed. So when you go on that job interview where we move ban the box, you can smile at them people, right?
Right.
Right. And glasses. So you can get your eyes checked, get your eyeglasses. So now not only can you smile at the employer, but you can actually literally see them
See?
across the desk from you, right? So those
Right.
are reasons within themselves that individuals coming from prison should have the right to vote. And I know a lot of the people that your followers, the people that trust you and your decisions on how they should operate, and they don't have that in their states. So those
Right.
are some points that when they are champion politicians to help returning citizens, those are some of the things that they can point out. Mental health, because they're saying that they are housing people in prison that should be in mental health facility.
Right.
So not when we attach them to the social services, now they can see mental health providers. What my office does, connect them to mental health providers, substance abuse, all the things that they need if they're seniors, because a lot of our people go in young, but they coming out older, right?
Right.
So now
Yeah.
why they should vote is for a representative that's going to back their issues, because now we're creating workforce development programs inside of the government. So not only we move banks, not only we remove it off the application, but we training you for jobs.
Right.
So
And
that's
I
why.
think yeah, and that's so critical because a lot of times, like I've seen people who have like prison ministries or, they want to go and minister to people, but it's like, well, what are you doing to ensure that they have opportunity? Because it's great to lead people to Christ, but if you lead me to Christ, but you're not helping me to get opportunity, then that does have an impact on your faith because you're like, who is this God that's supposed to love me, but I still can't get a job. I still don't have a place to live. I'm
Right.
sleeping on the street. So I think that that's a work for all of you church people who are trying to figure out what can we do in ministry. Like this is a great model that you can look at, being in the box, making sure that people have access to these services.
So let me tell you about the houses of worship. So again, I'm very fortunate. DCs have some of the best houses of worship because they are trying to figure out how to engage. They know that one of the most important things that they have been doing is leading people to faith, leading people to God, whether it's Allah, Buddha, Jehovah, whoever it is, right? But
Right.
they say, Director Curry, it's not enough. What else can we do? We write them, we send them Christmas cards, we provide toys for their kids, but what else can we do? And so if you are a church, I don't care where you are, but this is something that you should consider. You have a congregation
Mm-hmm.
that are realtors, business owners, doctors, union bosses, union managers, all the things that returning citizen need. So don't
Right.
just look at your ministry, look at your congregation. And if you really want to have an impact on returning citizens, one church, I asking you to give your congregation the goal to hire 3 people.
Mm,
and to train 5, right? So if you
right.
want to figure out how you can have a bigger impact, and talk to employers. Because a lot of times when employers think of returning citizens, they are thinking of the mugshot. They're not
Right.
thinking of us as mayors in some cities. They're not thinking of us as directors. They're not thinking of us as multi-millionaire business owners, or trainers, or life coaches and things of that nature, or violence interrupters. So help us change the thinking of the community at large, because the community at large is what can make our path smoother. But not only our path smoother, when we come back and we have an opportunity, we want an opportunity to rebuild our relationship with our kids, rebuild our relationships with our community, rebuild our relationships with our family. And so by shutting us out, you forcing individuals to make choices that they don't want to make, that puts them in line back into incarceration.
Right,
So
right.
giving
And that's
us the
usually
right
why
to
the
vote.
right, and that's why the recidivism rate is so high, because a lot of times when people come out and there's no opportunity, then you end up going back to what you know versus us exposing them and expanding the opportunity. So this is such important work that you're doing. And I promise I wouldn't keep you more than 10 or 15 minutes, and we're already over that. So I just want to ask you, like, as you're doing this work and you're out talking and encouraging people to get out to vote, like what's your pitch? What do you tell people? If there's somebody listening right now and they're undecided, they're trying to figure out, should I vote? What's your pitch to them to get out and vote in 25 days?
So the first thing I would say for the people that's listening to is figure out, when does voter registration end in your community, in your state. That's the first thing. And then when you engage in people, it's important to ask them, what do you love? Or what do you need right now? What's most important to you? And then you can connect voting to that, because again, voting impacts everything. And so if you
Everything.
got a young person, if you got a young person that is getting ready to turn 18 within 3 months, I believe it is, and why should they vote? Are you planning to go to college? Right? You want to make
Mm,
sure there is loans and grants available to help you to pay for college. Right? You want to make sure there are loans and grants to help you with housing, covering the
mm,
books, right? Or you're a young person, you're not going to college, you want to go to a trade. You want to make sure there is funding available to support you in that, whether it's training, apprenticeship programs, or what have you. You want to move out on your own, right? Young person, you want to make sure there's a job that's available for you. So during COVID, why is it extremely important? Because not only do you need programming for you, but you also need supports for the nonprofits and the businesses that are serving your community. And if you come from communities that's underserved, where there aren't many grocery stores, that's another reason for you to vote. So you can vote for a politician that's going to bring ripe produce to your community, where there's not going to be, you have to go to a little hole in the wall, and the bananas are already turning brown, and you got to pick which banana has the less brown in it. So you got to make
right.
voting personal to the individual, because history doesn't always support. You can't say because so many people have died, because young people
Right.
ain't that connected. So young people are concerned about what's going to happen to them and their friends. And the person that in office can either improve the lives of their friends, or it can put more limitations onto what our young people can become. And my older folks, why you should be voting, you're getting older, you want to make sure that Social Security there. You want to make
Yeah.
sure that 401k isn't lost. So who you put in office helps determine what awaits you tomorrow when you retire. So that's what I
Wow.
say. That's my pitch. It's
That's an
individualized.
awesome, that's an awesome pitch. And I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know you have a lot of projects that you're working on, but thank you so much just for engaging in this conversation and sharing this information with us.
It's my pleasure. Let them know they can reach me at Lamont Carey, Lamont.Carey. That's Carey. Lamont, Lamont, like Lamont on Sanford and Son. Lamont.Carey at That's how they
Yes,
spell
and
it.
if you guys need information about these programs, ban the box, or how you can help returning citizens, definitely reach out to Lamont. So thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you for having me. Bye, y'all. And don't forget to vote.